Let's take a look at solving formulas for a variable. I'm going to type out the steps so you can read it a little bit better. Solving formulas for a variable. Now our note up at top is still the same as it always is. At any step, combine like terms and combine numbers. That's pretty well true throughout algebra. Anytime you can combine together like terms, numbers, you should. Step 1, get rid of parentheses. You do this via the distributive property. Step 2, get rid of fractions. Multiply everything by the LCM of all the denominators. Now, we're solving for a specific variable, so we're going to get all the terms with the variable we are solving for on one side, everything else on the other side. Solving for on one side, everything else on the other side. Step 4, if the variable we are solving for is in 2 or more terms, then factor it out. And step 5, divide both sides by what is in front of / back of the variable we are solving for. Now these 5 steps will be able to solve any formula you run across in college algebra. Pretty well run across any, or be able to solve any formula run across in chemistry, general chemistry that is, not Chem 1. You'll probably start failing fairly fast in Chem 1. And introductory physics, it should be able to do most of those also. Again, in engineering physics, it fails probably pretty fast. So let's take a look at our first problem. Now some of these are actually formulas. Some of these are just ones I made up. But they will show you all the different techniques you need to solve any kind of formula. Now this one, we got volume, V is equal to 4/3 pi r squared h, and we're solving it for h. And solve each formula for a specified variable. Okay, first step, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Second step, get rid of fractions. I do have a fraction. We multiply everything by the LCM of all your denominators. We only have one denominator, the 3, so that's our LCM, and we'll multiply everything by that. Multiply the V by it, and the 4/3 pi r squared h by it. These 3 is going to cancel. 3 times V is 3V equals 4 pi r squared h. Step 3. Get all the terms of the variable we're solving for on one side, everything else on the other side. We're solving for h. Everything with an h is already on the right side, and everything else is over on the left side. So that's done. Step 4. If the variable you're solving for is in 2 or more terms, factor it out. It's only in one term. Terms are separated by pluses and minuses. Step 5. Divide both sides by what's in front of / back of the variable you're solving for. There's a 4 pi r squared in front of the h, so we'll divide both sides by 4 pi r squared. And when we do that, the 4's cancel here, pi's will cancel, and the r squareds will cancel. And we got h is equal to 3v over 4 pi r squared. And that's our answer. Let's take a look at our second example. We've got ax plus by is equal to c, and we're wanting to solve that for y. First step, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Second step, get rid of fractions. Don't have any. Step 3, get all the terms of the variable we're solving for on one side, everything else on the other side. Well, we're solving for y, so I'm going to take this ax and move it to the right side. Now when you take anything across your equals, your sign will change. So the ax becomes a negative ax. So now I have everything with a y on the left side, everything else in the right side. Step 4, if the variable you're solving for is in 2 or more terms, factor it out. It's not. It's only in one term. Step 5, divide both sides by what's in front of / back of the variable you're solving for. There's nothing after it, but there's a b in front of it. So we'll divide both sides by b. And these b's will cancel. And we get y is equal to c minus ax over b. Now, when I show different steps in my courses, I don't show shortcuts. So if you see shortcuts on these, go ahead and use them. Shortcuts is where a lot of students get confused at. If I can find one set of steps that'll work 100% of the time, that's what I go with. And so I'll keep going back to those 5 steps. Okay, so we got 1/5 x. It's tempting sometimes. You see that shortcut and you just want to take it. But minus 2/3 y is equal to 4. And we're wanting to solve that for y. Now, even though this one has numbers, this is still a formula because we've got 2 or more variables. If we just had all x's, that'd be just a linear equation. Okay, first step, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Step 2, get rid of fractions. Multiply everything by the LCM of all your denominators. Well, we got 2 denominators, 5 and 3. Our LCM would be 15. So we're going to multiply the 1/5 x by 15 minus 15 times 2/3 y equals 15 times 4. Now 5 and 15 both divisible by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 3 and 15 both divisible by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 15 divided by 3 is 5. If your denominators have all disappeared and you got 1's down there now, that means you picked the right LCM or at least picked a common multiple. 3 times 1 is 3, so we got 3x minus 5 times 2 is 10y equals 15 times 4 is 60. Step 3. Get all the terms of the variable we're solving for on one side, everything else on the other side. We're solving for y. I'm going to take this negative 10y to the right side, and I'll take this 60 to the left side. Doesn't matter actually which side you take it to. I did that so I could make this a positive 10y. So take the 60 to the left side, becomes a negative 60. Take the negative 10y to the right side, and becomes a positive 10y. Step 4, if the variable you're solving for is in 2 or more terms, factor it out. It's not. Step 5, divide both sides by what's in front of / back of the variable. There's a 10 in front of it, so I divide both sides by 10. Now, specifically, over on this side, I'm going to divide the 3 by 10 minus 60 divided by 10. So I divide them separately. I'll talk y in just a second. So that gives us 3/10 x minus 60 divided by 10 is 6 equals, and those 10's cancel and gives us y. So our answer is y is equal to 3/10 x minus 6. Reason why I did it in that way is because that's slope-intercept form. And typically books will want to write it in that form versus 3x minus 60 all over 10. Let me start a new page. Let's look at our next problem. So we got a is equal to b over x plus y, and we're solving for x. So going through our steps. First step, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any parentheses. Step 2, get rid of fractions. Multiply everything by the LCM of all your denominators. Well, we do have a fraction, and we have a denominator. We only have one denominator, so that is our LCM, even though it looks kind of bizarre. So we're going to multiply both sides by x plus y. So we got a times x plus y equals x plus y times b over x plus y. Well, a times x is ax plus a times y is ay. And over on this side, the x plus y is going to cancel and give us b. Step 3. Get all the terms of the variable you're solving for on one side, everything else on the other side. We're solving for x, so I'm going to take this ay and move it to the right side. So we got ax is equal to b minus ay. Remember, you take anything across your equals, your sign changes. The positive ay becomes a negative ay. Step 4, if the variable you're solving for is in 2 or more terms, factor it out. It's not, it's in 1 term. Step 5, divide both sides by what's in front of / back of the variable you're solving for. There's nothing behind it, but there's an a in front of it. So divide both sides by a. When I do that, these a's are going to cancel. And we get x is equal to b minus ay over a. And that's our answer. If you had used some shortcuts on this, then your answer might have looked differently. That's the frustrating part about formulas, is you may have done the problem perfectly correct, but you use different steps in the author in a book, and so your answer looks different. Another acceptable answer for that, in case you're just curious, if you got x is equal to b over a minus y. That is correct also. Looks different than that, though, doesn't it? Let's look at our next example. A is equal to 2bx plus 3by minus 7, and we're solving it for b. Okay. First step, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Second step, get rid of fractions. Don't have any. Third step, get all the terms of the variable we're solving for on one side, everything else on the other side. We're solving for b, as in Bill. So I'll leave this term here and this term here, and I'll take the negative 7 and move it to the left side. Again, when you take anything over the other side, the sign changes, so it becomes a positive 7. And then I write down what step. That was step 3. Okay. Step 4. If the variable you're solving for is in 2 or more terms, factor it out. B is in this term, it's in this term. Terms are separated by pluses and minuses, so I'll factor out B. And that gives us 2x plus 3y. Step 5. Divide both sides by what's in front of / back of the variable you're solving for. There's nothing in front of the b, but there's a 2x plus 3y after it. So I'll divide both sides by 2x plus 3y. Now when I do that, 2x plus 3y is going to cancel there. And we got b is equal to a plus 7 over 2x plus 3y. And that's our answer. Let's take a look at our next problem. You notice that I'm not doing a whole lot of thinking here. I'm just following those steps. The thinking comes when you're looking at word problems and analyzing it in more depth. Just solving a formula for a variable, though, is just you follow those steps. Okay. First step. Notice I'm not skipping any steps either, even though we obviously don't have parentheses. First step, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Second step, get rid of fractions. I do have fractions. Multiply everything by the LCM of all your denominators. Well, I got y, z, b. Well, when you got different variables like that, then your LCM is just 3 multiplied together. So we're going to multiply everything by b, y, z. That's our LCM. We'll multiply it by the x over y. We'll multiply it by the 3 over z. And we'll multiply it times the a over b. Well, the y is going to cancel here. The z's will cancel here. And the b's will cancel here. So we're left with, I'll put it in alphabetical order. We're left with bxz equals 3by. What is that? Is that an a? I can't read my own writing. That's bad. A. ayz. Okay, let me double check that. bxz, 3by, ayz. Okay. Step 3. Get all the terms of the variable we're solving for on one side, everything else on the other side. We're solving for b as in Bill, So I'm going to take the 3by to the left side. So we got bxz minus 3by equals ayz. Remember, when you take anything across your equals, your sign changes. And that was step 3. Step 4. If the variable you're solving for is in 2 or more terms, factor it out. Terms are separated by pluses and minuses, so b is in 2 terms, so I'll factor it out. And that gives us xz minus 3y equals ayz. Step 5. Divide both sides by what's in front of / back of the variable you're solving for. There's an xz minus 3y after, so I'll divide both sides by that. So xz minus 3y equals ayz over xz minus 3y. So those are going to cancel. And you got b is equal to ayz over xz minus 3y. Let me just double check that real quick. bxz 3by, okay, ayz, take that over there, factor a b out. Okay, that's correct. Let's take a look at our next problem. And last one. We got s is equal to 1/2 gt squared plus bt. And we're solving this for g, which doesn't make any sense. G is gravity. It remains constant, but we'll pretend it makes sense. We're just taking a look at the steps anyway. Okay, first step, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any parentheses. Step 2, get rid of fractions. Well, we do have fractions. We only have one. We only have one denominator, so that is our LCM. We'll multiply everything by 2. So 2 times s, that is s, isn't it? Yeah. Equals 2 times 1/2 gt squared plus 2 times vt. So we end up with 2s is equal to, those 2's cancel. We got gt squared plus 2vt. Step 3. Get everything with the term, get all the terms of the variable you're solving for on one side, everything else on the other side. So we'll take 2vt over to the left side. So we got 2s minus 2vt is equal to gt squared. Step 4, if the variable you're solving for is in 2 or more terms, factor out. It's not. Step 5, divide both sides by what's in front of / back of the variable you're solving for. There's nothing in front of the g, but there's a t squared after it. So I divide both sides by t squared. Now when we do that, these t squareds are going to cancel. And we got 2s minus 2vt all over t squared is equal to g. And that's our answer.